All right, guys, let's talk about it quickly. This is from Pod Guy Fugs, I believe. Fuges. He's on Twitter. You can go look him up. But he says that the Bears are in the number one spot to acquire Russell Wilson via trade. The Seahawks want two first rounders, Jalen Johnson, Robert Quinn, Khalil Mack, and a couple of other players, basically. But yeah, so this is what they want. Seahawks seem like they're actually prepared to trade Russell Wilson if they get what they're asking for. Russell Wilson wants to go to the Bears. Let me state the number one reason why Russell Wilson wants to go to the Chicago Bears. Ryan Pace and Coach Nagy are a year away from being fired. So they're desperate. So Russell Wilson would have all the power that he does not have with the Seattle Seahawks because of Coach Carroll. Coach Carroll is running the football operations. He pretty much has the power, and Russell's tired of it. He knows that the Seahawks won't take him over Coach Carroll. So he wants to leave where he can have way more power. And in Chicago, he will have the most power because they're desperate. I think that Coach Nagy is a good coach. He's been dealing with just inconsistent quarterback play due to Matt Nagy's being an idiot and not drafting Deshaun Watson. All this would have been different had they just drafted Deshaun Watson, but that's not, it's in the past. They can't change it. But what they can do is get Russell Wilson, top two quarterback in the league, top three if you don't think he's two. I don't know why, but yeah, he's definitely top three. I have him top two. But yeah, they need to just throw everything they can to acquire Russell Wilson. I believe the Bears are about two wide receivers and a tight end away from actually being, a title contender. Now, obviously, if they were to trade all those defensive players, that's a whole different story. But Russell Wilson is so great that he could cover those issues for a year, and then they would just have to restock in the next offseason, not this offseason, but the next offseason in the draft. But even with this draft, even if you trade, this is what people gotta understand. If you trade your first round pick, unless you traded all these other picks, you're still good. If you have picks 2 through 7, you're good to go. Just make it work. So their offensive line is better than what the Seahawks have. Their running back situation seems to be a tad bit more stable. They got that running back number 32. Pardon me for not remembering his name, but he finally started hitting his stride towards the end of the season. So I think, like I said, Russell Wilson sees all this, and the fact that Nagy is an offensive coach, offensive-minded head coach, he sees that and he goes, okay, he came from the Andy Reid coaching tree. I can make it work with these guys, and I have the power. So they won't tell me no because they got to save their jobs. So they'll do whatever I suggest, basically, offensively speaking. So yeah, I think that if he was to go to the Bears this year, they could win the division. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, they can't win it because it's AR-12 on the Packers. No, anything could happen. The Packers are still going to be the Packers. Don't get twisted. But the Bears could really make this a very interesting division if Russell Wilson goes there. Because then you'll have AR-12 versus Russell Wilson. You'll still have Kirk Cousins with Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. And obviously the Lions are the Lions. I'll get on that another day, but everything that Coach Campbell has been saying in the media tells me the Lions are not going to be good this year. I just don't believe it. But yeah, I can see it happen. Look, Russell Wilson and Coach Carroll have been butting heads for at least 3 years now. And it's just time. It's time for them to separate. Objectively speaking, I think they should stay together. From a bias perspective, I want them to leave immediately. Russell Wilson, he's been my favorite quarterback for a long time, but he's not on my team. So I want him to go to the Chicago Bears. I mean, it's still the NFC. I would rather him play for the Raiders. But yeah, like just go to the Bears and you can go cause havoc in that division. But we'll see what happens. But if this trade does happen, it will happen closer to the draft. So do not expect it this upcoming week or 2 weeks from now. If it's going to happen, it will happen right around draft time, which is, coming pretty soon, by the way. So we'll see. But tell me what you think about Russell Wilson potentially going to the Bears. Do you think that's a great move? Do you think that's a better move than him staying with the Seahawks? Do you think that Nagy would be able to finally take over, be able to outcoach Coach LaFleur? Do you see that happening? Like I said, I could see them winning the NFC North this year, but it would be tough given that they would have to trade some defensive pieces. But that's what Carroll wants because he hasn't been able to draft defensively good players since he came back to the NFL. So we'll see what happens. But give me your comments and thoughts about what I just said down below.